My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless podcast. Thank you so much for rocking with the pod and being part of the family. This is what's coming up.
I got my first child when I was 25. I remember I took her to theater when she was 3 months for brain surgery, and that is when adulthood started. Life stopped being so simple. When you go to bridal showers, it's all pink and blue and merry, but there's no talk of what if, because it is a possibility in life. You can't say you will not get a child with a disability. 5 years down the line, I got another child. She almost died at birth. My motherhood has not been a walk in the park, to be honest. We didn't know she had intellectual disability, so we took her to a mainstream school. First, she had totally delayed developments from speech to walking. So I think she walked at 3 or 4 years old. I think that's the day I realized my daughter had a problem. And I remember crying back all the way back to work, wondering, what have I done? Why didn't I see this before?
That's Christine's story. We're going to get to it in a jiff, but if you are a newbie here, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have 4 flagship shows here at Legally Clueless Africa. The first is this one, our flagship podcast that goes out every single Monday, has different Africans come on and share their stories. On Wednesdays, we have the Midweek Teas, and I unpack different themes and topics that can help you navigate your healing journey. And then on Thursdays, we have For Mannerless Women, and we have a different episode on our podcast platforms and a different episode on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe, link in the show notes. And on Fridays, we have a seasonal show that's on a break, but coming back really soon for its 3rd season, I believe, or 4th. I get them a bit confused, called Ask a Therapist. So different therapists come on and answer your questions. Yeah. And last but not least, make sure you sign up for our newsletter that goes out every single Wednesday. Go to our website, legallycluelessafrica.com, or check out the show notes for more links and where you can catch us on social media. Great. Now that I've shown you around, grab a seat. Before we dive into today's stories, I just want to give you a quick reminder of our upcoming wellness talk. Shout out to everybody who has secured the slots. I cannot wait to hang out with you on the 30th of August. In case you're wondering, what is this all about? It's not just another event. It's an intentional space for us as Africans to sit together and talk about the things society doesn't let us talk about, like building healthy boundaries with family, reimagining what family dynamics can be like in adulthood, catching those patterns or behaviors or characters that you adopted to survive in childhood, and finding that you're still maneuvering like that as an adult, especially when you're hanging out with family, figuring out how to say no to family members, how to heal from things that maybe a family member has done to you and hasn't apologized for. And last but not least, compassion fatigue. When, we're at that age, those of you who have parents who are still alive, the parents might be ailing. Maybe you have kids and you're trying to juggle between taking care of your folks and taking care of your kids, and it can be draining, right? And so we will learn and get tools to help us navigate all of this. We're going to unpack questions at this talk, so you'll be able to send in questions for our guest speaker, who happens to be my therapist, Faith Guchu. She's a counseling psychologist who helped me walk through all of these themes and more. And you'll be able to listen to her talk about these topics, but also send in questions, even sending questions anonymously, because we understand it can get a bit touchy when you are talking about family, but we do think that once you navigate through all of these things, your family relationships are going to feel a lot more fulfilled and a lot less anxious. So it's on the 30th of August at 10 a.m. East Africa time. Tickets are only 1,000 bob, which you can grab via the link in the show notes, or just go to hustlesasa.com, or even on our website. And it's virtual. We want our family that are everywhere around this world to join in. So make sure you sign up, grab your tickets. And I just have to say, we do have limited tickets because we try and make the space intimate. So we have a cap. Grab your tickets quick fast. So let's get into 100 African stories. This week, we're going to hear from Christine, who's a mother whose life was completely redefined by the birth of her two daughters, who are both living with rare diseases. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
Christine Matana is my name. I was born in Mata Hospital years and years ago, decades ago actually, the white hair can show. I remember growing up in the 80s. Life was simple. We didn't have much issues. You could drink water from the tap. I went to primary at Nairobi South Primary. I grew up in South Bay, so Nairobi South Primary High School. Life was easy, no stress. Maybe it's because I was not an adult, but life was easy then. Easy it seemed like, but now I went to campus to do computer science. Then it was hip. Then things are all, you're just getting into tech. And FYI, I can type very fast. So I did my bachelor's in computer science. I did a couple of networking, hardware, laying cables. Wow, that was hard work, literally, for my nails. But then after that, I did my MBA in strategic management. I thought just to diversify myself, so I was into management, and I know why you're probably trying to connect that with advocacy, and there's no correlation at all. But yeah, that's my background. I was supposed to be this hotshot CEO somewhere. Short skirt, high heels, kinda, no nonsense mama. And life happened, and I realized that's not meant for me. That was not meant for me. And as much as you manage people, you it is a point where you have to decide what you want in life. Is it the money? Is it the sleep at night? Is it what drives you? What wakes you up in the morning? So for me, that was not a choice I made out of personal will. It just happened. I got my first child when I was 25, and I remember I took her to theater when she was 3 months for brain surgery, and that is when adulthood started. Life stopped being so simple. Life showed me, life, and from there, I think is when my life started detouring, if I can use that word, towards health, towards advocacy, towards support, towards disabilities. Before then, I was oblivious, to be honest, about all I know is when I was growing up, kids were hidden. But unless you're exposed to something, you don't quite grasp how much it can mean to someone. Yeah, so firstborn was born. She took us through a few things. I remember saying that's her last one because I couldn't deal. I didn't know how to take care of a kid with a disability because society doesn't teach you. Our parents don't pass that information down because we're not passed on by their parents. It's not something society is willing to talk about. When you go to bridal showers, it's all pink and blue and merry, but there's no talk of what if, because it is a possibility in life. You can't say you will not get a child with a disability. It's just life. What God gives, He can choose how to give it to you. So that was that. 5 years down the line, I got another child. Both girls, actually. And this one has taken in the role. I keep on saying if I didn't have the firstborn, then I wouldn't know how to take care of the secondborn. Because she almost died at birth. She had a lot of issues. But she's a feisty one. she's one who, we call her head of the house because what she says goes. She's now 13, the second born, and I have old kids. You can calculate the age now. But my motherhood has not been a walk in the park, to be honest. And that's why I guess I said my choice for moving from boardroom to advocacy was not something I had planned. So it happened. And I realized my goal in life was to help the parents behind me have an easier life. Because when I got my kids, there was no support system. I'm the first one to get a child in my family, and no one knew what to tell me, how to help me, what to do. So it's kind of like winging it. And but that you wing it literally with somebody's life. But you go online, you research, and everything is abroad. You look locally. There's no one who knows what you're going through literally, because it's either you find, okay, my kids have different rare diseases, and I keep on saying I hit the jackpot. So for me to find, up to now, I've not found anyone local in Kenya with the same rare disease as both my kids, or rather each of the kids, because I represent two rare diseases, and I've not found up to now a parent or a child or a caregiver with the same conditions. So you can imagine 15 years ago, thank God for internet, but still locally there was nothing. Doctors didn't know anything about your child. They didn't know what to tell me in terms of outcomes, in terms of future, in terms of health. So here's your child, go home. They don't tell you these are what you should expect. These are the milestones you should hope for, because it was, it was, yeah, it was life. And so when I stopped crimping and laying cables, which I can still do that, by the way, when I stopped doing that and I left a couple of boardrooms, I I started an organization called Step by Stones, because then the support groups were for disease specific or condition specific, like you'd get autism, you'll get cerebral palsy, you'll get Down syndrome, but my kids didn't fit there. So you feel like an outcast trying to fit in into a box trying to fit into a circle, because you're not the same at the end of the day. So I started that so that I could have a support platform for parents and caregivers who feel like they're alone, who feel like they don't fit, so that at least we could encourage each other. That said, I also joined a lot of groups abroad for my kids' conditions, and that I can say is what helped me move on. What helped me, quote unquote, teach the doctors here what to do about my kids, how to treat them, what to look out for. So I had to do the research to pass it on to their doctors so that at least they could see a way forward. Because you can imagine, you can't expect one doctor to research for one patient, and yet they see millions of patients just to figure out how to treat this one child. So I kind of like took that, I don't know if it's a role, took that up. I even have files, medical files, that I walk around. So if you're seeing with this doctor, I have this file that has their history and everything. So at least I don't have to start afresh. I don't have to think. If they want doctor talk, I just give them the file. They have reports, so they can sort themselves out. Yeah, so years later, my friend and I, no, actually, yeah, this is a Rare Disease Day, actually. I came to find out. It's called Rare Disease Day campaign that's held on the last day of February, coincidentally, which is a leap day, the rarest day of the year. And it's held globally. Feb 29th. It started on Feb 29th in 2008 in Europe. I was like, why can't you do this here? Why can't you start raising awareness about rare diseases? It's not a Western disease. It's not, it's something that literally is at home here. And that Rare Disease Day Awareness campaign has morphed into an organization called Rare Disorders Kenya that, apart from still raising awareness on that day, we support families get like a conduit or a hub to get resources if they need. We have an ad hoc support group for anyone with a rare disease to feel at home. So that me and my two rare diseases will meet somebody else with their one. As much as they're different, still the same lonely journey. So it kind of like becomes, you're not alone. Yeah. And so we were into policy making. So we are mobilizing Ministry of Health, trying to tell them, look here, there's this small group of people that need help. We are looking into different organizations, stakeholders, trying to get a national definition of what a rare disease is, because WHO states that it's 1 in every 2,000. That's based on the prevalence rate. Prevalence rate is how many times it occurs per given group of people. How many, like if you have, the way they say 1 in 5 women has 4 women has endometriosis, that's a prevalence rate. So like if you see 4 women, 1 has endometriosis. So it's the same. So for rare disease, it's 1 in 2,000, 1 in every 2,000. As I said earlier, we didn't know how to handle, I call them baby girls. So I didn't know how to handle baby girl 1 in the sense that we didn't know she had intellectual disability. So we took her to a mainstream school. First, she had totally delayed developments from speech to walking to, and those are things we were not warned about. And since the first child in a family, you don't know what to expect. So like I think she walked at 3 or 4 years old. She talked slightly after. Like when a new parent comes and tells you, oh my, I have no idea when they're supposed to walk. I have literally no idea when they're supposed to sit up because my kids didn't do that. So I'm not the norm for trying to advise new parents about milestones for their kids because I don't know. And I remember we took her to a good school then for nursery, and she couldn't write her name. Her peer school, but we didn't think so much of it. Till when I went to these parents teachers conferences, and her teacher said, I think we need to move her to the next class. And I'm like, but she's not writing her name. And the teacher's, yeah, but she's old. She was supposed to go in that. I think that's the day I realized my daughter had a problem. And I remember crying back all the way back to work, wondering, what have I done? Why didn't I see this before? Is this something we've missed? Because I remember by the time she was hitting 10, I think she was in 6 schools. Then they were just not working for her, in the sense that they want to teach her like any other typical child, yet they don't want to understand her as an individual. And so she struggled a bit educational-wise. Social-wise, we didn't care what the society thought. We threw her out. Do you? We've never hidden our kids. So if you see me, I think they even know more than I. This is like an enter supermarket and they're, oh, what's up with Toto? And I'm like, oops. Because they do leave a mark with people. But for me, like, sometimes I'm a bit antisocial, them are very social, but they do leave a mark. So we've never not taken them wherever we are going. Because at the end of the day, they are kids. Not really kids, they are human beings and they're part of the society, and it's a right be part of the society that they were born in. So for me, that about hiding, I sometimes I do get it, but I'm glad we had family support with our decisions. So we've never had to struggle in the sense of fighting for their rights when it came to family, when it came to the society around us. I used to have a saying, the same way you say charity begins at home, so does inclusion. If I'm on this table with you, and if you don't think my child is to be on this table, then I'll have no inclination to bring her here. But if I explain and you understand why she deserves on this table, then you get to change your mindset. So there's no point of me running out to society, tell them, hey, my child deserves this if I have not started it at home. My small society, the village around me. So I think for us that worked because I also do believe people treat your children the way you treat them. So if I treat my kids like I'm ashamed, and the rest of them will teach them like that. So we said, no, our kids are kids and the way they are, and we thank God. We shall deal with that later. So you should see them. They're very vibrant there. The second one is very feisty. She bullies her firstborn. I think she missed that place that says respect your elders. Because anyway, she's a joy. They both are. Education system in Kenya is shit. They don't cater for our kids. They don't care for even the healthcare system. The society in this country, I'm going to use society because it has various elements. There's social, there's cultural, there's education, there's church, there's, school. They don't. Maybe nights a bit better. But when I was raising my kids, there was nothing like that. There was no, how do you tell a mom, move your child to the next grade because the child is older, not considering that the child has not learned anything. So it actually gives me memories of when I was in primary and we used to have those slow, in quotes, learners. They were probably just not slow, maybe they're just not being taught the way they understood. So it was a sad affair. Now I see it's a bit better. I see people are more not inclusive, agreeable. They are more understanding of our kids in society. We feel at least churches have days for our kids. Or like the church I take my kids to, the second one loves church. So she wants to go to the kiddie church where it's age appropriate. First one says I'm going to a big church, so she goes with me. And initially it used to be a problem because it's like, okay, what if baby girl 2 wants to go to the washroom mid church? They tell me, don't worry, we'll take her. I enter the church, big church, and I don't have to worry about my daughter till it's end of church. That's what inclusion means. And I'll go to her, which pick her up after now to where her service is, and she's happy, she's colored, she's prayed, she's been included. So those are the things I didn't have when they were growing up, but they are now. So society is a bit more understanding, but it's come a long way and it's not there yet. Education, the reason I said it's shit is because like now, my eldest is she's 17, but there's no school that can accommodate her intellectually vis-a-vis age, in the sense that if you're in a class, you need to sit with your age-appropriate peers so you can learn from each other. But then intellectually, you're way behind, so they give you your own work. That's how it's supposed to be. But here you'll find she's being told go sit with 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds. That doesn't work out because she's old. She'll even wonder, why am I here with kids? So that's why I don't like the system here. Some schools are adoptive of a good system, but they're expensive. How are we supposed to raise our kids? There's no tax rebate. Tax by the National Council is when you're 18. But how will I, and you're employed rather, but how will I raise my child to be a contributor to the society if I cannot afford anything below 18 from cradle to 18 years? I can't. It's expensive. And I'm talking about this from a privileged corner. What about those in the village who don't even know what is wrong with their child? So it's just, there's a lot that we need to do from society point of view. Sometimes we wish that there was actually a training for nannies for our kids. Because when I was actually quit formal employment, because my kid, especially the second one, was getting sick, and the nannies were just shifting like passerbys. You get one today. I remember this one I got in the evening, and around 5-ish, I trained her. The next day, I think I was supposed to go to work. But then my day bag used to come and her hold fought, so I was okay. In the morning, she says, I can't deal your kids. I'm not staying here. Then it was quite hurtful, but in retrospect, she was honest. So you find that in our community, nannies don't know how to take care of our kids. Okay, I don't blame them, even us, you don't know how to take care of our kids. So I can't say it's their fault, but it's a willingness to want to help somebody and to learn and to ask, how do I take care of your child, Kristen? What do you want me to do? Teach me. So there's not a lot of that. So you find that the turnover is very high for our kids with disabilities when it comes to nannies and caregiving. I know there's some trainings that I've even held one for. It's actually called nanny training, where they're taught what to expect, either maybe a hyper child or a child with cerebral palsy, how to hold them, how to, basics that they will not understand. Some return, but at the end of the day, still, that's just for the lucky few who can afford. I know a lot of homes for kids with disabilities are one parent working. The other parent is at home taking care of the kids, because you can't always leave your child with somebody you don't know. That's one. Sometimes you find that you can't keep your job because you're always at the clinic. Organizations do not understand, or other companies don't understand why you're always going to the clinic. And see, if it's somebody who's had a typical child, they're like, clinic is once in maybe 6 months. You're always going off, or your child is sick, or I have to go to the doctors, or especially if you're having therapy, which is thrice a week. So it's, as I said earlier, society doesn't understand, and I don't know at what point we'll get people to actually see that it is not us parents who just want to waste time or will our way away, but we have to do everything we have to do for our kids, because at the end of the day, you don't want to regret and say, I wish I had done this or done that. The people you leave at home with your kids, you're not sure, and you can't leave work because you need the money to take your kids for therapies, because again, insurance doesn't work. I remember when my daughter was born, the firstborn, I mentioned she went for brain surgery and it was congenital. And I remember one of the nurses telling the doctors, don't try it congenital, the insurance will not pay. Because those are exclusions. Chromosomal anomalies are exclusions. As in, straight up, you're being told I will not cover you. Even if now is a bit better, they cover, but such a small capping that it doesn't make sense. Like, I can't pay premium worth roughly, say, 60, 100,000 for my family. And I'm told when my child gets sick, because they have a chromosomal anomaly, if they get, let's assume my inpatient is 2 million, they can only be covered for 400,000. You see, it doesn't make sense, because she has a pre-existing condition. And worst case, it's congenital. Congenital means you are born with it. So worst case, it's congenital. I don't even know which aspect of society I can say has been for our kids. Because as I talk here, I'm trying to figure out which other institution have we gone to that has helped us, or they're already willing to assist us being parents and caregivers of kids with disabilities, worse, kids with rare diseases. When if you go to the National Council to get a disability card, our rare diseases are not part of the options. So where do you fall? If you have intellectual disability, they'll probably put you under mental illness, which is totally different. So why are we categorizing our kids and clumping them up with a different set of conditions, yet that is not what they are, even in adults? So it's a lot that just does not work. I remember that brain surgery, I was 25. You're being told then, that was in 2007, that you need 140,000 for your child to be done for surgery, and where are you going to get the money from? It's not like you've been working for years, you have savings, you don't. And family came through. They told us, don't worry. My side removed half, his side removed half. And they told us, take your child for surgery. I've never forgotten that, because it meant whatever you go through, we are here. So for us, if anything happens, and certainly financial assistance, baby, you can have all the money in the world, but it still will not keep you going. It's even, can I help you? Can I take you for the clinic? It's a basics. Can I hold the baby for you? Can I say stay with baby girl too, because you're taking baby girl one to clinic? You get. It's just the honest basics. So money is like, I know it sounds like I'm not putting a lot of emphasis on it, because you can always get money if you really want. Worst case, you can chimba a vault somewhere. But for me, it's that support for your mental health, because that's a key part. In the sense that you're going to the doctors for a clinic. And by clinic, I'm talking about the basic. I'm talking about a specialist. You don't know what this time you'll be told is wrong with your child. You cannot go there alone, because you're afraid of the news you're going to come back home with. So you find a sister there, a mother there taking you. You get. That way, you don't shoulder all that alone. For me, that is my takeaway when it comes to how I survived bringing up my kids up to now. Because they, as I said, from my privilege corner, you can gather money, you can have a harambe. But imagine you have all this money with you and you're going for this through this alone, money aside. So I always have this phrase that you can have all the money in the world and still get depressed. So for me, it's not about money. It's about the support, the day-to-day holding of your hand through this journey. I call it the disability parenting journey, and you can't do it alone. You can't. It's not like you can say, "Oh, I'm strong," or "I'm going." Okay, so with Rare Disorders Kenya, it's a patient-led organization, so it's a mixed kind of thing because you have adults living with rare diseases, so it's not only kids. So you find that my kid here, my kid there, my friend there has a rare disease. That guy, that father has a rare disease. So it's not only kids, but we have days where we meet. Like this year's rare disease day, it was in Feb. We brought members together, not necessarily their kids, if you're a caregiver, but just talk about your experience, just to share what your journey is, so that even as we all move together in this journey, you can understand and appreciate our individual struggles, so that at least you're not fighting alone, and again fighting the people who are supposed to be with you. So like, for example, if I use this drug and somebody else doesn't know how to access it, I can help. Go to this doctor, do that. Or if my condition is about, there's another called narcolepsy, where they just fall asleep at any time. I can be having this discussion with you and I'm asleep. In another second, then I wake up. But you see, you'd understand if you told me your journey, then I'd appreciate when I ask, "Are you falling asleep? I need to give you space, break." So it's just about understanding each other's individual journey and collectively as one. Some of the activities we do, that is not, we're not knocking on MOH's doors, is MOH is Ministry of Health. You're not knocking on MOH's doors or trying to see what you can do about policy. And we've approached a couple of pharmaceuticals. We've asked them help our patients with drugs that you guys have on charitable access. Charitable access means they give those who cannot afford for free. We've done that for a couple of different conditions. So they pass through us. We kind of like a vet, yes, they have this condition, and we ensure that they go to the correct specialist who is in liaison with a pharmaceutical company. Then they get drugs for their kids, because there's some guys who need like enzymes and they get infusions every 2 weeks. Otherwise, they don't survive. So it's kind of hard to like tangibly say this and this and that, because we have our tentacles everywhere. So like, for example, our 4 objectives is to first improve the lives of people living with rare diseases. So that's just like our members. As I said, they can be kids, they can be adults. Just try to make it easier for them. We also do create awareness to the general public and different stakeholders. That can be government, pharmaceuticals, patients, doctors, and let me say healthcare providers, because even nurses as well can fall in. And our third one is collaboration. That's like now with either local or international organizations. And then our research. That's we're trying to see if we can do something. As I said, like, we're trying to get a national definition for what are rare diseases. So that falls under research, because it's kind of like census, where you have to, how many people in this room have this condition in this case, like the country. So it's a lot. Not a bit, it's a lot. But that's what you're trying to see into the future. So that's basically what we do as an organization. But it's not easy because we're all patients or caregivers, hence the patient-led part. But we try our best just to help each other have an easier day and an easier journey. We've gotten drugs for some kids. There's a condition called Gaucher. They get their enzymes. There's a condition called Hunter's. There's another one called, this one you might have heard of it, spinal muscular atrophy, SMA, whereby they have the most expensive drug in the world, $2 million for a single shot that the child has to get, I think, before 2 years of age, and it's not guaranteed. So we try and get this. There's a pharmaceutical company that has another drug that kind of helps reduce the progression. So we've kind of connected the kids with SMA to that pharmaceutical company as well. So those are big stories because we've helped a bit of, because 5% of rare diseases have FDA approved treatment, and it's about 6 to 8,000 different rare diseases. So even it's a small management. Like for my kids, there's no treatment. It's management. They just have to watch, make sure when this happens, you're on it. When this happens, you're on it. And that's mostly for, I think, 99% of us. It's a joy of knowing that you've helped one person alleviate their issues a bit. So for us, I would say that's our most successful story. The fact that we've managed to rope in the international organizations to see how to help us. We've also kind of like, the knocking on MOH's doors has not been in vain. They formed a technical working group for rare disorders. So that means we're looking at a policy or a paper around rare diseases and see once that's this going to become the norm for all hospitals. It is definitely in the infant stage, but it is definitely something, because if you have the ministry thinking about rare diseases as compared to when my child was being born and saying, what the hell is that? Because they're not taught. And when they're taught, they say that doesn't happen in this side of the world. So those are milestones that are amazing, because we've got people talking about rare diseases, people who in decision-making seats discussing rare diseases. I've been part of the UN resolution for rare diseases. So I even went to the UNGA meeting that was held last year, just to give a small picture of how we're doing it in Kenya. So I think it's just small things everywhere, because our tentacles are like in all aspects, because if you don't have them, then there's no other organization that's doing the same here. Let me not even talk about rare disease, because that's quite specific. Let me just talk about disability. Raising a child or having a member with a disability is not easy. So I always say, because I know I'm always asked, how can we help you? Ask, how can I help you? What do you need me to do? For example, like for me and my kids, I'll give an example. I used to dread Sundays. Everyone knows that's a nanny's day off. I have two kids who just, one, then she was not communicating. She's so tantrums because of communication barriers. She probably wants water, but I'm giving her milk. So she throws a tantrum. Or she says she wants this and I can't understand her. And we all know, if even as adults, someone doesn't listen or understand you, you get frustrated. So that's normal. But I used to hate Sundays, because that used to be my hardest day, because I'm left with the kids and I don't know how to deal with both of them. And then I met a friend recently who is in the rare disease space. And every Sunday I try to go to her house so she can have an easier day. Not because I'm going to help her raise a child, but the fact you're not alone. Even if you're looking after that child, you have an adult head. You just, the assumption in your head that it's somebody else makes it a bit easier to handle that day. So that's just one example. You can even ask, can I go buy for you your groceries? Can I go to Mama Burger for you? Things that, it's the small things that matter. Can I take you to clinic? Not because you're going to help carry the child or anything. If it's an adult, you're going to carry him or her. It's just that they will know they're not alone. So if you know somebody with a disability, with a rare disease, with whatever, just try and figure out how you can be there for them. And if you've noted, I've not mentioned money, because it seems easier to give money, but then sometimes that's not what we need. We just need support. Money helps a lot. Don't not give money, but it's not everything. That's my point. Money is not everything.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. What a powerful story. My goodness, Christine's journey is one for the books. There's so many gems that she shared, but here are 3 key takeaways for me. The first one, which I couldn't agree more: support is everything. It's not always about money. And yeah, sometimes it feels easier to send money, but support is everything. And sometimes when you don't have the money to give, you think you can't be of help. Support is everything. And listening to her just made me try and reevaluate. Am I really showing up for the people around me who have kids, whether or not they have rare diseases? because community does matter. And I think sometimes I get caught up in my own world and in work. I live so far, but I think there is room for improvement. That's something when Christine was talking, I was kind of doing an internal audit about, because sometimes the most valuable gift is just showing up, is holding space, is reminding someone that they're not alone in the journey of parenting, especially parenting through disability. The other thing that I absolutely loved is when she said, inclusion starts at home. We always think about that saying as like charity begins at home. Now, inclusion, right? That was really powerful, because how we treat our kids sets the tone for how society will treat them. And the third thing is something I've always held dear to me. It's something I learned by watching my late mom, navigate breast cancer for over 10 years and use that journey to create awareness, lead policy change in Kenya, And so what Christine went through with her daughter's Birth Rare Disorders Kenya, an organization that's shaping national policy. So taking a painful experience and expanding it so that you can be of help to others, that is something. Like, I'm thankful that Christine brought it up. I'm thankful my late mom showed me that that's something you can do, that even our hardest experiences can fuel collective change. I'd love to hear what stood out to you most from Christine's story. So drop a comment so that I can respond to you. And as always, I truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you for listening to this episode to the very end. And I know you have every single thing it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.